Hi, welcome back to the garden. You caught me out here watering my moringa tree. Who would have thought northeastern Oklahoma I'd be able to grow such a beautiful tropical tree? And you know this is a superfood. I mean, you can eat the leaves. Got a very nice flavor. And since I have this in a container, I'll be able to bring it in the house and overwinter it. We'll be just that far ahead in the spring. This is a kind of cool plant. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about containers. I don't think we were told the truth. When I came up, they said, that's a flower pot. What are you wasting your time with that flower pot? And what I found doing the deep mulch garden is if you want to make a small change, change the way you do things. If you want to make a big change, change the way you see things. And I now see things a whole lot different than I used to see things. I would have never grown an invasive species like mint in the garden, but with a container, I not only can grow the mint, I get all the benefits, and especially very invasive plants like horseradish. If you have them in a container, you don't have to worry about them spreading. And I saw a guy on a backhoe trying to dig some up. I don't want that, but I do want a little horseradish. Another really nice thing about growing in containers in the garden, you're able to move them around. So if I need to move this basil where it's going to be more effective, not a problem. I can just move the container. And then we also have our citrus, which would definitely not take our winters. It's very easy to move them in and out of the house. And that way, even after it frosts and we get some warm days, we can bring them right back out into the sun. One of the main reasons I'm changing the way I see things about containers is our friend down in Texas, Valerie. But we also have a new friend in Jamaica, Marie, and she has no choice but to use containers for everything simply because of where she's at. She has no tillable soil. Both of these wonderful ladies have shown me just exactly what you can grow in containers. We grow quite a few herbs right up here by the house. Here's a really neat trick with strawberries. When you got them in containers, and as they put runners out, you can just set another container there and it'll root. Another container there and it'll root, etc. And then you just clip those off and you got new plants. And if I didn't have containers, I couldn't grow lotus. My first year growing sugar cane, I probably put too many in one container. I think they're supposed to get quite a bit bigger around, but they got tall. I'll be able to harvest those seeds and we'll try it again next year. One of the really nice things about growing carrots in a container, all that loose soil, you don't have to worry about hard clay keeping them short. We've been very successful with the green onions and the chives, and our rosemary, which we've not been able to overwinter outside, we'll be able to bring that on into the house. I'm yet to see what we're going to have with the peanuts, but I know we got some really nice sweet potatoes the other day. And you don't have to get fancy with your containers. This box that we planted the radishes in, they're already coming up. So I am going to start using more containers out in the garden along with the deep mulch. One, it's a great way not to have to weed. There's no problem companion planting. And this little pepper is just loaded. And we got these peppers way too late to put in the garden, but I'd hate to lose them, so we're going to be able to bring these inside. And our banana plant's putting on babies. There's only a couple drawbacks to container gardening, and that's in the heat. You want to protect the roots. That's where the deep mulch does a really good job of moderating the soil temperature. When you got that container above ground, that's like a little oven cooking those roots. But I believe if you put some kind of shade cloth right around the bottom of that container, you mitigate that quite a bit. And the turmeric may not have gotten as big as it gets in the garden, but I'll guarantee you there's quite a few turmeric tubers down underneath there. And if you're going to try some experiments, a container is a really good way to do it. That way if it doesn't work, no harm, no foul. And if it does work, with the example of this store-bought pepper that we put in here, we can bring this in the house and we can overwinter this. And we're going to get nice peppers the rest of the winter. Now you always want to have some kind of a saucer underneath that holds the water and it lets it pull whatever moisture it needs. You don't have to water quite as much, and you may have to water every day, but if you look at the size of the container versus your plants out in the garden, the actual amount of water is a little less. Now you do have to pay attention and feed those plants in the container. In the deep mulch, you got all this life underneath here that's bringing all that nutrients from the soil. And in a container, you're in a small area, so you will have to supplement as your plants get bigger, but they will get bigger. But you really don't have to feed them that much because it's still in a confined space. And you can grow just about anything you want in a container. We had a contributor, Jim. He had a cucumber, and it grew up in a tree, and he had to get a cane to get that cucumber out. I guess the whole point of this is you can do this too. The good outweighs the bad. Even if it's a very small container, you can set it on your kitchen windowsill and you can grow herbs or lettuce or radishes for that matter. You'd be surprised just how easy it is. I mean, how cool would it be to come out in your garden and pick okra out of a container that's about 5 feet off the ground? But the point is, you can grow this stuff too. And it tastes great. Right here's a great example of having a mobile garden. When you can take your containers and move them up and protect your plants. I've got this groundhog up here in his raised bed. He triggered the trap, but I didn't catch him. I'm determined. We'll see if I get him before he gets all the leaves out of the garden. And all I can do is hope he doesn't get some of the young stuff that we planted. I know the carrots and the radishes that we put in containers, they're going to be safe. You can do this too. And if you want to learn a little bit more about the deep mulch, click that link right there and I'll meet you back in the garden. And if you want to learn a little bit more about container gardening, click that link right there and I'll meet you back in the garden. And until next time, remember, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and God bless you. Come on, let's plant.
Let's go plant garden.